As a youngster, Elvis often told his parents that one day he'd make a lot of money, buy them a fine home, and put an end to their financial struggles. The purchase of Graceland in 1957 made good that promise and became an important symbol to him of the dreams he'd achieved. Elvis loved Graceland and enjoyed showing his guests around the mansion and grounds. When Graceland was opened to the public in 1982, it was imagined that Elvis would have been pleased with the opportunity to share Graceland with the world. Elvis Presley's Graceland. Welcome to your private tour. Graceland was built in 1939 by Dr. and Mrs. Thomas Moore. The land, once part of a large farm, had been in Mrs. Moore's family for generations and had long been named Graceland after Mrs. Moore's great-aunt, Grace Toof. Graceland was Elvis's very private corner of his otherwise very public world. His mark on this place is indelible, and all of us, fan and casual visitor alike, can sense his presence here. Elvis was a gracious host who proudly welcomed visiting friends to his home. Now that Graceland is open for public tours, the rooms shown are those Elvis shared with his guests. The upper floor, which contains his private master suite, has never been part of the public tour. The living room is where Elvis met his special guest. You would wait here, probably seated on this elegant 15-foot sofa, for him to make his entrance. Both the sofa and the 10-foot coffee table were custom made for this room. The blue, gold, and white color scheme, the decorations and accents, are classic 1950s and 60s style. Elvis redecorated and changed Graceland many times in the 20 years he lived here. He added the wall mirrors in the 1970s, an elegant touch that also made the rooms appear more spacious. The stained glass peacocks were designed and installed for Elvis by a local company in 1974. This photo of Elvis was taken in 1957 when he was 22, around the time he purchased Graceland. The photo of his parents, Vernon and Gladys, was taken not long before. Vernon gave this portrait of himself to Elvis as a Christmas gift in 1976. Nearly everything that you'll see in the house, furnishings, draperies, accessories, are original. Replacements are made only as absolutely necessary. The formal dining room at Graceland was the scene for the evening meal, usually served around 9 or 10 o'clock. Elvis always sat here, at this end of the table. From this spot he could lead the dinner conversation. He regularly served as host to a group of 10 or 12. The inner circle of friends, sometimes called the Memphis Mafia, was made up of old friends and relatives of Elvis who also functioned as his personal staff and entourage. Lots of stories and laughter were shared around this table. The portrait of Elvis's daughter, Lisa Marie, and her mother Priscilla was taken in 1970 when Lisa Marie was 2 years old. At the center of the room is an Italian glass chandelier, just like the one in the stairway, only smaller. These, as well as the one in the foyer, were purchased by Elvis for Graceland in 1974. At Christmas time, and all the time, the kitchen was filled with activity. Elvis was a night person, usually getting up for breakfast around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But with so many people always around, coming and going at all hours, Elvis's cooks were kept busy round the clock. The kitchen looks today just as it did after Elvis last remodeled in the mid-70s. These monitors and others in Elvis's bedroom allowed Elvis, his entourage, and staff to see what was going on all over the mansion and grounds. When Elvis bought Graceland in 1957, this was just a plain basement. He soon transformed it into a cozy place for informal entertaining. This is the TV room, and its focal point is the bank of television sets. These were installed after Elvis heard that then President Johnson watched all 3 network news shows at the same time. Above the TVs is a pull-down movie screen. Elvis enjoyed watching his home movies as well as feature films. The built-in jukebox holds 100 records. Musical selections could be heard all over the house through speakers in each room. The bar, along with everything else in this room, was part of a professional redecoration Elvis commissioned for the basement rooms in 1974. The lightning bolt is part of Elvis's personal logo. TCB with a lightning bolt, taking care of business in a flash. The pool room was another gathering place for Elvis and his buddies. Elvis liked the game. His favorites were 8-ball and rotation. As with all of his interests and hobbies, Elvis was competitive and liked to win. The current look of the pool room is also part of Elvis's redecoration of the basement rooms. It was then that the ceiling and walls were covered with this colorful cotton fabric, about 400 yards of it. It took 3 workmen 10 days to cut, piece, hang, and pleat it. This pool table is one of the oldest pieces of furniture in the house. The tear in the felt is a result of an unsuccessful trick shot on the part of one of the guys. Lisa Marie also liked to play down here with her cousins and friends. The broken corner in the Tiffany-style lamp was caused by a tossed pool ball during one of those spirited play sessions. The last room we'll visit in the mansion proper is the den, now called the Jungle Room. Elvis added the den onto the house in the mid-60s. Many stories are told about the Jungle Room. One story has it that when the waterfall was being built, the designer curtained off this end of the room with Elvis agreeing not to peek until the work was complete. Elvis loved surprises and was really pleased when the waterfall was finally unveiled in a small ceremony. Another story is about when, in the mid-70s, Elvis replaced all the typical family room-style furniture with what you see here today, a decorating fad of the time. Elvis reportedly picked it all out in a 30-minute shopping spree at a local store. The large chair in the corner was too big to move into the room by traditional means, and so it came in through the window. That chair became one of young Lisa Marie's favorite napping spots. The green shag on the floor and ceiling was another 70s decorating fad. It also did a good job absorbing sound. In 1976, Elvis chose to hold some recording sessions at home. In this room, he recorded the album From Elvis Presley Boulevard to Memphis, Tennessee, and over half of his last album, Moody Blue. The backyard at Graceland was where Elvis and his family and friends relaxed and played. It was a scene of football games, fireworks battles, and golf cart races. At the far end of the lawn is the carport, where Elvis kept his many cars, motorcycles, and motorized toys. Today, you can see a wonderful collection of them in the Elvis Presley Automobile Museum, across the street in the Graceland Plaza. The Automobile Museum is a nostalgic trip along a winding highway filled with cars and vehicles Elvis owned and enjoyed. Elvis was often photographed in his 1956 Continental Mark II. In the 60s, Priscilla used it to drive to school. The white 1971 Mercedes-Benz 280 SL Roadster was a gift to Priscilla from Elvis for Christmas of 1970. It was a personal favorite of hers and was sent from her home in California for permanent display here in 1989. Elvis's 1955 pink Cadillac is perhaps the most famous car in the world, a symbol of the spirit of the 1950s and of rock and roll itself. It was his mother Gladys's favorite, even though she didn't drive. Elvis drove this 1973 Stutz Blackhawk during the last years of his life. It has a red leather interior with gold-plated accents throughout. The last time he drove through the gates of Graceland, he was behind the wheel of this car. Next to the carport is the original household business office. Whoever came on the grounds to fix, build, or deliver something checked in here first. Elvis's father, Vernon, and the secretaries handled all the household and personal bills. In contrast to his son's carefree spending, this Spartan office reflects Vernon's reputation for being tight with a dollar. This is also where much of Elvis's fan mail was delivered. Throughout his career, Elvis's fans sent him special gifts and mementos from around the world, and he kept most of them. This wall in the trophy room, dedicated to his fans, displays a small selection of them. Some even sent portraits. The large life-size painting in gold and white was commissioned by Elvis himself from celebrated artist Ralph Wolf Cowan. After Elvis was discharged from the Army, he arrived in Memphis by train. The next day, March 8, 1960, he came out to this office for a press conference. He sat at his father's desk.
Ready to go?
Ready. Ready when you are. I'm always ready.
Now that you are back, as you look back on your 2 years in the service, what was the most important thing that happened to you during your 2 years, whether it was overseas or here in the States?
Well, there were a number of things that happened. I had quite a few interesting experiences. Slept out in the snow, HC rations, all the regular things.
Leaving the storage room, we'll walk over by the pasture. Elvis gave Priscilla a horse as a surprise for her birthday in 1966. Before long, in typical Elvis fashion, he bought horses for himself, all his buddies, and their wives. Elvis enjoyed riding a classy Tennessee walker he called Bear. But his favorite was Rising Sun, a golden Palomino. Elvis would ride down to the front gate, sometimes dressed up in Western gear, to sign autographs and visit with his fans. The connection Elvis shared with his audience was his greatest love affair, and in spirit it continues undiminished to this day. The Palomino now at Graceland is a distant relative of Rising Sun. He was brought here by the Graceland staff, who believed there should always be a golden Palomino in the Graceland pasture. When Elvis bought Graceland in 1957, he thought one of the first things the house needed was a swimming pool and a patio on the south side of the house. The patio by the pool was later enclosed. Elvis eventually turned this area into a trophy room and storage area for his ever-growing collection of awards and career mementos.
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
Elvis Presley died today at Baptist Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. Presley was 42 years old. He was rushed to the hospital late this afternoon, suffering from what officials say was respiratory distress.
The cause of the cardiac arrhythmia is not known at present time. It may never be known because there are several possible causes for cardiac arrhythmia, including high blood pressure and coronary artery disease. He had both of those diseases.
The president said Presley's music and personality...
But I must go along till the Lord comes and calls me away. Oh, yes, where the morning's so bright and the lamb is a light, and the night is as black as the sea. Oh, yes. There will be peace in the valley for me someday. There will be peace in the valley for me. Oh, Lord, I pray. There'll be no sadness, no sorrow, no trouble I see. There will be peace in a valley for me. Well, the bear will be gentle and the wolves will be tame, and the lion shall lay down by the lamb. Oh, yes, and the beast from the wild shall be led by a child, and I'll be changed from this creature that I am. Oh, yes. There will be peace in the valley for me someday. There will be peace in the valley for me. Oh, Lord, I pray. There'll be no sadness, no sorrow, oh my Lord, no trouble I see. There will be peace